Hello there, and welcome. Well, I talked about charismatic kids. Let's talk charismatic teachers. I don't think there's any question in our family that John was the most charismatic among us. Not to say that my brothers aren't all three charismatic, they are. But John really had it in spades. And I think that's part of why he was as successful as he was as a teacher. He really did just draw people in. People wanted to be around him. He was fun. And he dedicated himself to getting really good in his field so that all that fun could yield some very good things as well. Charismatic teachers are in danger a lot of times because charismatic people are attractive and they can draw people in that maybe don't have the healthiest idea of what kind of relationship they should have with the teacher. And charismatic people, since they engender cooperation, they often engender it from other charismatic people. And if they aren't careful, their popularity can lead them to believe that they're infallible. They are fallible. We're all fallible. Teachers, you're fallible. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. The most important thing you can accept about that is that most mistakes can be addressed if we are honest with ourselves. If you are a naturally charismatic teacher, you need to remember that just because kids like being in the room doesn't mean they're learning a lot. Try to pay attention to that. Try to watch how things are going and see if you're getting good learning outcomes from your students. Are they passing the tests? Are they doing their homework? Are they growing? Are you tracking it? I know that sounds very school marmy, and I am that way. I have been a department head. I have had to look at the outcomes from students' classes, and there are teachers that are good teachers that will never achieve the greatest results because they can't be bothered to really see if all the kids are developing. You should be. All teachers should be bothered to make sure that they're seeing some improvement in their students and they're doing things to encourage their students' improvement. And that can be difficult. It can maybe require you to try to do things you don't necessarily want to do. Obviously, I love to lecture. And my instinct was every day to come in and lecture. But that isn't necessarily the best way for students to gain abilities and knowledge and skills. That just lecturing to them won't necessarily work all the time. There were times in my career when I was hilarious. I would tell stories, but the problem was the stories weren't aimed at the content, and so the kids would remember the stories but not the content. And my stories are not the point. The content is the point. So, some ways that you can actually kind of check yourself. One way is go ahead and have an evaluation from somebody and let them videotape you and pay attention to what you're getting. Not just what you're getting in response from the kids when you do a presentation or a lecture, but also what you're getting from their actual homework, their actual effort. Because that will make a difference. The truth is that kids learn by doing. Some of them learn by listening. I am definitely that kind of person. If I hear it, I tend to remember it. But not everybody is that tuned in that way. Some people need to see more. Some people need to experience more. And above all, we need to do it ourselves. We need to spend a lot of time doing things ourselves to really, really learn. And it's important to use your charisma to sell being good at stuff. That's really what's important. Teach kids that they need to be good at stuff and convince them that it's attractive to be good at stuff. I will be honest, I occasionally said things like, knowing Shakespeare will make you sexy. What do I know about? I don't know nothing about sexy. I know nothing about being sexy. So, yeah, that was just me flat out not being honest with the kids. But you really do. You need to spend real energy on making sure your charisma is aimed in the direction of their improvement, not just your ego, because that's the real danger. Now, there are charismatic teachers that do absolutely awful things, and I don't need to go into them. They can be damaging to a lot of people. But the real thing I want to say is use your charisma, use that natural social energy and that leadership power to get the most out of the people you lead. Make it about them. And that's the most important thing. It's wonderful to be admired and loved and sought after. That's wonderful. I'm not going to lie. I liked it that kids wanted to take my class. I did. But it was more important in the end, when I left teaching, it was more important in the end to feel like I did some good and they learned important things that helped them in their future. Most important of all, for me, of course, was writing. And I think for John, the most important of all was history and civics. He cared about those things. And so he wanted them to develop their skills in those areas. And I think they probably did. John was certainly as admired as any teacher I've ever known. Most of the people that knew him, even if they didn't love him personally, they did develop in his classroom. And that is the greatest gift a teacher can get, is seeing that what they offered, what they shared, and the effort they put into seeing their students grow paid off. Fruit was harvested. Well, charismatic teachers, if you're charismatic, good for you. Embrace truth and hope for the best. And above all, understand that even if people like what you're doing, you need to check to be sure that what you're doing is ethical and good and wise. That's it for today. I hope you have a gorgeous rest of the day. And I hope you see me again. You gorgeous people.